What's going on, AP World people? Got another good video for you today. This one is on Islam, part 1. We're going to break this into 2 separate videos, so let's get going. So we have to talk about Muhammad's early life. He is the founder of Islam, and he was born around 570 CE in Arabia, or present-day Saudi Arabia. By age 30, he was a merchant and married, and at 610 CE, he received revelations from Allah through the archangel Gabriel, and this led him to start spreading what he saw. And God in Arabic is Allah. Muhammad was a prophet of Allah, and he is seen as the final prophet in a long line of prophets, including Moses, Abraham, and Jesus. And by 620 CE, people of Mecca began to follow Muhammad. Now let's talk about the Quran and the Hadith. The Quran is the holy book of Islam, and it is written text of Muhammad's teaching. And as one history textbook says, it is the definitive authority for Islamic religious doctrine and social organization. The Hadith are sayings that are attributed to Muhammad and descriptions of his deeds, and many collections emerged centuries after his death. So Muhammad's teachings ran counter to those in Mecca, and this is going to cause issues for his followers and him. Muhammad stated that Allah was the only God, and many Arabs in this region were polytheistic. So that was a major idea that ran contrary to other people's beliefs. So Muhammad also spoke against idolatry, and Muhammad ends up fleeing to Yathrib, renamed Medina, in 622 CE. And here is a picture of present-day Medina, also located in Arabia. This is known as the Hijra and marks the beginning of the Islamic calendar. Muhammad organized his followers in Medina into a community in which he called the Umma, and they followed a legal and social code. And the Umma was expected to be essentially priority number 1 for Muslims, especially over tribal loyalty. And he also focused on providing for those less fortunate, which will be one of the 5 pillars of Islam, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. Muhammad is going to return to Mecca in 630, he and his followers, and they will conquer the city of Mecca. Now pay attention to this black cube shaped piece of architecture here. This is called the Kaaba, and they built mosques and they destroyed pagan shrines in Mecca. The only building that survived was this building, the Kaaba. And in 632, Muhammad led the first pilgrimage to the Kaaba, known as the Hajj, and this is another one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Muslims are expected to, if they can, if they're financially and physically able to make a pilgrimage to Mecca and the Kaaba at least once in their life. So the 5 pillars of Islam you should be familiar with. Number 1, Muslims must acknowledge Allah as the only God and Muhammad was his prophet. 2, they must pray to Allah while facing Mecca 5 times a day. 3, they must fast during daylight during the month of Ramadan. 4, they must give alms to the poor. And 5, they must make a pilgrimage or a Hajj to Mecca if financially and physically able to do so. So key terms you should be familiar with. Jihad means struggle, and some interpret this to mean to combat vice and evil. Some interpret this to spread the word of Islam, and some interpret this to wage war against non-believers. Sharia is Islamic holy law and is inspired by the teachings and life of Muhammad. Dar al-Islam is the home of Islam in countries where Muslims can practice their religion as the ruling sect. So they're essentially the majority in these countries they are living in. Now, Caliphs emerge after the passing of Muhammad, and these are Muslim leaders called Caliphs. Remember, they can't be prophets because Muhammad was the final prophet. They are the heads of Islamic community and religious leaders. And the first caliph was Abu Bakr, Muhammad's father-in-law. And this will lead to some issues and a split in the religion of Islam. So Shia is a branch of Islam that is a minority branch. Most Muslims are members of Sunni Islam. Shia Muslims emerged as a result over the selection of caliphs. Shias did not support Abu Bakr as the first caliph. Rather, they supported Ali and his descendants. And Ali was a cousin and son-in-law of Muhammad. However, Ali eventually served as the 4th caliph. Now let's talk about the expansion of Islam. Islamic armies expanded beyond Arabia after Muhammad's death. From 633 to 637 CE, they conquered Byzantine Syria, Palestine, and Mesopotamia. In the 640s, they conquered Egypt. And from 711 to 718 CE, They conquered northwest Africa and the Iberian Peninsula located in Europe. So some dynasties, some Islamic dynasties you should be familiar with. The first one is the Umayyad dynasty, and they established their capital at Damascus in Syria. They ruled Dar al-Islam as conquerors, and the empire also included Christians, Jews, Zoroastrians, and Buddhists. So there was much religious diversity in this empire. And these people could practice their religion if they paid a tax known as the jizya. Now after them we have the Abbasid dynasty. Abu al-Abbas, a descendant of Muhammad's uncle, led a rebellion against the Umayyad dynasty. And they ruled until 1258 CE when they were defeated by the Mongols, who we'll talk about in a few videos. The administration setup should be somewhat familiar to you as we've studied this type of administration in world history. Rulers built capital cities and made policies, and regional governors ruled territories. So regional governors are in charge of different territories. Baghdad was built as the capital of the dynasty, so the capital is going to shift from Damascus to Baghdad, and it is surrounded by 3 walls. So we have defensive walls playing a key role here. Ulama are people that had incredible religious knowledge, and Qadis were judges, and they helped settle disputes in this empire. Now, Harun al-Rashid was a caliph under the Abbasid dynasty from 786 to 809 CE, and Baghdad became a center for banking, commerce, and industry during this time. The decline of the Abbasid dynasty was due in part to governors stopped paying taxes and giving loyalty to the Abbasid Empire, which will weaken it and then ultimately help lead to the fall of it as a result of the Mongols. All right, let's do a quick recap. The Quran and Hadith, Muhammad's migration to Medina and then back to Mecca, be familiar with. 5 pillars of Islam, Caliphs, what were they, and know 2 of those dynasties. Shia versus Sunni Muslims, the Umayyad dynasty, and the Abbasid dynasty as well. All right, look forward to see you back here for video number 21. We're going to continue with Islam in part 2. Thanks for watching. Best of luck this year, and have a good day.